Hello listeners, we made it to Friday. I hope you're all safe and well. Here's a special treat to give your weekend a boost with the team behind Can You Sew This For Me account. Since I recorded this episode with Emily, AJ and Sarah, the force of three behind Can You Sew This For Me, their account is almost at 17,000 followers. Grab a cuppa and stay listening.
I have to thank the three of you so much for A, your account, and B, the fact that we've been able to tee up our times to get together today. Sew Organised Style podcast is really something that I wanted to do. I don't have a business. It's all about the community. That's who I am, and I've been doing this with Anne Wally since August last year.
So how long has Can You Sew This For Me been running?
We started Can You Sew This For Me in January of 2019. I can actually look up the exact date if you like.
I was just going to say, I can...
First post.
Jeez.
I think you put up an anniversary post too.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So let me find it. January 11th, 2019.
Wow.
Awesome. So welcome to Sew Organised Style podcast. Today we've got the three, shall I call you ladies? Or the three?
Sure.
Hang on. What's a better way to put it?
Fabulous ladies. Wonderful queens that you should bow down before.
All those things that run Can You Sew This For Me on Instagram. Is that right? Did I get it right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So in case our listeners on our podcast of Sew Organised Style don't know, on Instagram there is this amazing account called Can You Sew This For Me? And you'll see stories that people have around the expectations, to put it nicely, that they have of people who have sewing skills. So let's introduce the three amazing minds behind this. So we've got Emily, AJ and Sarah. And I've been liaising with Emily. So would you like to go first?
Okay. Hi, my name is Emily. My personal Instagram handle is Bonnets and Bits. I don't think I've been sewing as long as either AJ or Sarah. I came rather late into it. I originally started in cosplay, and then commissioning got way too expensive. So I started to learn to sew for myself and then got into historical costuming, and now I am perpetually broke. I live in Los Angeles, and in my day job, I am a nursing school admissions counselor. And sewing is kind of what I do to not necessarily relax, because I usually scream at my sewing machine, but, unwind.
That's great. And your sewing machine doesn't take offense to your screaming at it, right?
No, it's right here.
Still standing tall.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for that. AJ, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm AJ. I am Confused Kitty Sewing on Instagram. I am in Northern California, in the kind of near San Francisco area. I have been sewing most of my life. When I was growing up, we couldn't get hands-on dance costumes for Chinese dancing, so I used to make our costumes. Now you can get them from China, but back then you couldn't. For costuming, I started in cosplay, and then I moved into historical costuming. For my day job, I am a software engineer.
And that's what the sewing community has a lot of, people who love to sew and have such varied careers. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Sarah, and I am La Delphine Costuming on Instagram. I'm in Northern California, and I've been sewing for 10 years-ish. And I learned to sew because I collect 1950s dresses, and I decided I wanted to make my own. And I started doing historical costuming. I'm coming up on 3 years. Yay! Yeah, and my background is actually in art appraisal. So right now I'm in between jobs, but I actually do consulting on my own for different people. And I have a mom, so my kid keeps me very busy. So.
Oh, there you go. So you've got varied challenges in the day.
especially now.
Exactly. A lot of people. So let's get into the background of how you came about developing Can You Sew This For Me? So how did the three of you start thinking it through and then building it?
AJ, do you want to take this one? It was your baby first.
Ooh.
Oh, we have a friend named Vivian. She's Fresh Frippery on Instagram, and she was just conveying a story to us as someone who had a ridiculous request for her related to sewing. And we were just like, we were all sharing stories, and we were just like, man, everyone who sews has these, right? And it's like, it's actually nice to hear from other people and be like, okay, I'm not alone getting these crazy requests. So Em and I were like, we should totally start an Instagram for this. Kind of like, what was it? Hello, Felicia, or Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. That's right.
Bye, Felicia, or
By Felipe, yes, and Clients from Hell.
I was thinking Clients from Hell, yeah, which is the graphic design equivalent. So we're like, okay, we should do this. And then we just went and signed up for the Instagram handle, and that's how we started.
Okay.
The reason it's called Can You Sew This For Me is because my first choice, which I can't even remember now, was already taken.
I don't know how I stumbled upon your Instagram account, but I actually look forward to the posts every single time. And the stories, they're really good to share, as you said, AJ, because we've all come across those sorts of, sorry, I keep taking a deep breath, those requests, because I'm trying to be really nice about it too.
Very, very diplomatic there.
Thanks.
Yeah, and then when it started to take off, we realized that 2 people alone wasn't going to be enough, so we roped Sarah into helping us.
Yeah, I got suckered in.
Thank
Well
God.
done.
Thank God, because
I don't think any of us really imagined how big it was going to get.
What's the following now?
no, what are we at?
16.3?
Yeah,
Thousand?
16.3.
That's huge.
16.3, yep.
So in what, 12? Just trying to count how many months. So that's about 1,000 followers per month at least.
It
No?
was kind of a trickle at the beginning. We didn't get to 1,000 until about 6 months in, and then we got featured on someone's, I can't even remember who, and within 24 hours we gained 3,000 followers. It was intense.
And did that upswing happen when it was just 2 of you, not 3, and that's why you needed to go for 3 people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. And how do you manage the account amongst the 3 of you? Do you have like a timetable of I do this week, you do next week?
We do. This is Emily
Not by
speaking.
week, not by week.
Not by week. I take Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday right now.
Right.
I do Thursday.
And I do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But AJ also takes all the submissions and formats them for us. So that's a
She does the
lot
heavy
of work.
lifting.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it. They all read really well. So that's a really good job that you're doing, AJ, for the account.
Thanks.
I think when you're doing the work behind an account and you love it and you continue with it, I find it's difficult when someone says, oh, you're doing a really good job. You think, yeah, I know, and I'm going to keep going because you just want to keep going. It's not as if you're looking for the people to say, oh, it's just wonderful and what you're doing is great. Would that sit with you? Does that make sense?
It does, but sometimes it's also really validating to see a post get 5,000 likes. I'm shallow, what can I say?
I was telling them a couple weeks ago, I feel like we act a little bit like therapy for all the sewists out there. They feel like they found people who understand them, and when they relay the story, like it's kind of nice and validating that it's not just them, they're not alone,
Yes.
you know, feeling, you know, maybe a little offended that people are taking them so, you know, so for granted. Like it's nice to hear that we've helped people realize that it is okay to ask for what they're worth.
Exactly. So what are the highest rating posts that you've had so far?
The nurse one.
Gosh, there's
Nurse
so
one.
many.
The nurse one.
Emily.
What?
Yeah.
I love that one.
The one that we collectively love was a while back. I got the idea to start doing positive posts on Saturdays called Saturday Sweets. And we haven't always kept up with that. We get far more negative posts than positive posts sometimes. But we got, I'm not sure if the person is a nurse or an ER physician, but they were having a really hard day. And they had a young patient, a very scared child, who loved their toy so much that it popped a seam. So they got out their medical suture kit and using their sewing skills, patched up the fox, the stuffed fox that had lost some stuffing. And that just warmed my cold black heart.
Oh, that's a lovely story.
I actually really do like the Saturday sweets. It's something to look forward to, and I think people really like them as well. It's kind of refreshing, especially for the three of us. We read so many negative stories, right? AJ's, yeah. That, just to have that, to go to that folder once in a while, I'm like, oh, thank goodness, because there are good people in this world, and it's just nice to read.
So AJ and Sarah, do you have other stories that you've really loved?
I mean, for me, it's any story where the maker says no. Any story that ends with the quote-unquote happy ending with the maker saying, no, I know my worth, is my favorite story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Velcro diaper story from this week was quite fun.
That was a doozy.
The person had been asked to replace the Velcro on some cloth diapers / nappies and by a sister-in-law, and had done it, something like 30, 35 or 40 diapers. And then the sister-in-law turned around and sold them to buy new diapers. And so the revenge was excellent.
Oh, yeah, the gifts, the noisy gifts.
Best thing to do at Christmas.
I loved it. And it took them a while to actually say, why did you do it? Or the brother. And then, he took it in his stride. It took that long. Sorry, I'll stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
It's very much a slow burn.
Oh, gosh. Is there any advice that you've got for people who can't say no?
I would say always set clear boundaries with what's going on. I have a fairly large extended family, so I am making non-medical face coverings for them with the current pandemic going on. And it's knowing where to limit yourself and making sure that I'm still being a good aunt and making tiny little face masks for my adorable nieces and nephew, but also being kind to myself and knowing when to quit.
AJ, do you have any advice for people figuring out how to say no?
How to say no. It takes practice. It actually really does. And you need to not take it so personally when someone gets super offended, because they do. And it's not a reflection on you. It's them not understanding what's involved, what the cost is, both like time-wise and material-wise. So don't feel obligated, because if it's gonna make you miserable, don't do it. Our time is precious, and if you sow for joy and it's not bringing you joy, so yeah, I would just say you kind of just gotta, excuse the expression, balls out, just say no, and it gets easier.
Yeah. Sarah, did you want to add to that?
I don't even know if I can. That was so good. We feature submissions from both professionals and non-professionals, and I like that as well, that you see the mix. And what it all comes down to is, A, if it's going to make you miserable. B, if you just think it's not worth it, then you just shouldn't do it. And AJ's right. It is hard to say no. And you can always kind of tell when I'm the one in charge of the account for the day, because I get very upset when people start lecturing our submitter about, you should have said no. We all start somewhere, and we all have gone through it, and it's really hard to do in the beginning. And one of the joys of the account, and one of the helpful things about the account, is teaching you, we've all been there. We've all not said no. We've all learned. So, we're all in this together. So, don't beat yourself up, basically.
And I think, Sarah, you're onto a really good point there. Your account is actually educating the sewing community to understand what it is that they're doing, why they're doing it, and when to draw the line in a way that also teaches other people that there is a line and you just crossed it.
We've totally gotten people who have been like, I was able to say no after reading the stories, and that's really awesome.
Yeah, we've gotten some amazing messages where people were like, you know what, I read this post and then the same thing happened to me and I said no. Or I asked for the proper amount for labor costs. I did not just ask for the materials costs, which is huge because you've got to pay yourself for your time and for your expertise.
I mean, even to the point where, you take on some work and you say, okay, I need a down payment of X for the materials, and at the end of it, this is the balance. That would be a really hard thing to say, I think, for someone who would like to say just yes and not have that confrontation around what my worth is. No?
It's hard. We tend to undervalue ourselves a lot.
Mm.
Who would want to pay me $20 an hour to sew them something?
They should.
They should. They should definitely pay at least $20 an hour minimum.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. So do you have any final messages for people?
$50 is not enough.
Somehow that is the magical number that everyone seems to think is okay for whatever they're asking. It could be anything,
Right.
but it's always like, I'm gonna pay $50.
And I don't know.
No.
I don't know where that came from. AJ, I know for me on my thing, I wasn't expecting $50 to be the universal number.
And it seems to be worldwide because we get submissions
Exactly.
from all
It's
over
like
the
$50,
world.
50 euros, 50 Australian dollars, 50 pounds.
Yeah.
It's just 50.
The
Because
magical...
50 sounds like a really high number to people, I guess.
Or a Disney princess gown for $50. I think we've definitely gotten that post a couple of times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ball gown, prom dress, wedding dress.
Wedding alterations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just for dealing with the emotions of people going through those, you can't, oh, geez, the value of that blows my mind.
If I took alterations, I would not work with brides.
No.
That's just too much responsibility in my life.
Yeah.
I think I've sewn 2 bridal dresses, and I made it really clear as to what I would do and what I wouldn't do. And thankfully it was people who were really chilled about it. So I was really lucky, but that's as far as I ever went. I didn't go anywhere further with that. It drains you emotionally as a sewer and as a person, I think.
A lot of pressure.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have all the respect for people who work in bridal shops. That is not an easy job.
No.
Yep.
I'm hoping that they all get compensated for that, but again,
Hazard pay.
Yeah.
should be in the enterprise agreement or, their employment conditions.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is an amazing opportunity. So thanks for bringing us on.
Our very first podcast.
Yay! Baby's first podcast.
I know that there are a lot of people here in Australia who follow your account and who are super excited to see what you do. And I know they're going to be super excited to hear from you as well. So thank you for being on So Organised Style Podcast. And we're just going to make sure we blast it out there so that it helps with the work that you're doing and making sewers feel valued.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all right. Thank you. Bye.
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 Stay safe, listeners, and have a lovely weekend. See you Monday.